There's something curious about this broadcast.
This is Moscow. This is Moscow calling. On the 12th of April, the Soviet Union orbited a spaceship around the Earth with a man on board. The astronaut is a Soviet citizen, Major Gagarin Yuri Alexeyevich.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know it, you love it, you can't live without it. This is TGP Nominal. Dan.
Hello everybody and welcome to this special edition of TGP Nominal, your monthly look at all things science fact and science fiction. I'm your host Mark Taylor, and this episode is special because we're joining with others all over the world to take part in a global celebration called Yuri's Night. So why do we celebrate Yuri's Night? Well, have a listen to this news bulletin from April the 12th, 1961.
This is the BBC Home Service. Here is the news. All Moscow is waiting to give a hero's welcome to the world's first spaceman, Major Gagarin of the Soviet Air Force. And to begin the bulletin, here's a Moscow recording of his voice speaking to Russian scientists as he went through space.
Major Gagarin said that the flight was going on successfully, normal, visibility was good, and that he himself was feeling good as well.
Major Gagarin was sent up in his 4.5-ton spaceship from somewhere in the Soviet Union soon after 7 o'clock this morning, our time. And about 148 minutes later, he was brought down again after his 25,000-mile-an-hour flight around the Earth at heights ranging between 105 and 181 miles. As he looked down on the Earth from the loneliness of space, he streaked across Asia, Africa, and South America, constantly checking his instruments and controlling the pitch and roll of the ship by firing small correcting rockets. During his flight, his reactions were checked by radio and television devices. When he got down, Major Gagarin said in a message to Mr. Khrushchev, "The landing was normal. I feel well. I have no injuries or bruises." When he was told the momentous news in Ottawa, Mr. Macmillan said, "It's a very notable achievement. I'm sending a message of congratulation to Mr. Khrushchev." The Prime Minister is now flying home after his 3-week tour of the West Indies, the United States, and Canada. President Kennedy, too, has sent congratulations to the Soviet Union. In New York, all-night radios broadcast the news in special news flashes. And the New York Times carried in its last editions a treble headline: "Soviet launches a man into orbit, maintains radio contact with him, first human in space feels well." The director of the National Space Agency, Mr. James Webb, called the flight a splendid achievement, adding that he hoped the Russians would make available to scientists the information they gained from the experiment.
TGP Nominal's annual Yuri's Night podcast is registered as an official virtual event. So if you're joining us from yurisnight.net, a very warm welcome to you all, and I hope you'll come back and join us in the future. There are hundreds of Yuri's Night events taking place all over the world, and you are taking part in Yuri's Night right now just by listening to this podcast. In our show notes, you can learn all about Yuri Gagarin and watch videos of previous year's events, including live streams that we have hosted. Now, usually at this point, I would tell you a little bit more about Yuri's Night, but there's someone who knows a lot more about it than I do.
Hello, and welcome to Yuri's Night. My name's Loretta Whitesides. I'm a future astronaut at Virgin Galactic. I'm the founder of Yuri's Night. We're super excited. We kicked off this party in 2001. At the time, we said it was a party we wanted to be celebrated in 10,000 years in the future, a holiday that's still relevant to humanity, even when we're scattered among 12 different star systems. This event celebrates the anniversary of Yuri Gagarin, the first human to go into space, April 12th, 1961. And also, 20 years later to the day, the United States had the first space shuttle flight take off, April 12th, 1981. And so it's a conjunction of two extraordinary space anniversaries. And we like to use Yuri's Night to celebrate the power of space to bring the world together. So that's what we're about. That's why we encourage people around the world to celebrate this day and to help unify our little planet here. And so we're super excited to have the UK involved and doing your part. There's a bunch of parties in Japan, in the Antarctica, as well as Africa and throughout the world. So this really is a global celebration. We're excited that the UN has declared this International Human Spaceflight Day. And I just get moved just thinking about what we're capable of as a species when we put aside our egos and do what's best for the future of our cosmos. And I am really passionate and dedicated to getting everyone in the space community together and feeling a part of something bigger than themselves and feeling heard and known and appreciated. And I challenge you to take on being the person you've always wanted to be, because there's something that you came to Earth to do. And hopefully it has something to do with space. Maybe it doesn't. And I challenge you to do it, because if you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And we all need to step up and start being crew of Spaceship Earth. Thanks for being part of this journey. Thanks for being part of this community. And thank you so much for your support. And let's rock the planet. Poyahuli.
Thanks, Loretta. Loretta is not only the founder of Yuri's Night, but she also shares her birthday with Yuri Gagarin's historic flight. So, happy birthday, Loretta. I also share my birthday with a piece of spaceflight history, because my birthday is on June the 16th, which is the date that Valentina Tereshkova became the first woman in space back in 1963. I wasn't born in 1963, I wasn't even thought of in 1963, but I still share the date. Normally, John Berger, my regular co-host, will be joining me for our Yuri's Night show, but unfortunately he can't make the show tonight due to other commitments. Aww. But worry ye not, because he will be back with us next month with tales of his trip to PAX East, and he will be joining myself and Leslie Ann Shaw on the Garbage Pod's annual Eurovision podcast, which is one of our highlights of the year. So, am I flying solo tonight? Well, of course not. It's Yuri's Night. And joining me as a guest co-host is Director of Astronomy and Science Communication at the Kielder Observatory, voiceover artist and honorary crew member, Dan Pye. Happy Yuri's Night, Dan.
Happy Yuri's Night. Thanks for having me. It's nice to be here.
Now, last time I spoke to you, you were heading out to Florida.
I was.
Did you actually get to go to Kennedy in the end, or?
I did, yes. So I went to Kennedy on the 23rd of February, specifically for a relatively important reason. Because we got married in the Rocket Garden at Kennedy Space Center.
Oh wow!
So
that's superb.
Before the center opened, we got married. But it was quite funny, because Florida, you can imagine that we anticipated nice warm weather. You know, we planned all the outfits to be very tropical, like shorts, nice short-sleeved shirts and things. And then that day, there was a freak cold front came over, and the temperature dropped to 6 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was windy as anything. The sky was beautifully blue, but it was absolutely freezing. So it was a wonderful time, but it was a very cold time to be at Kennedy Space Center.
Wow. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Oh, thanks very much.
And secondly, yeah, you don't normally associate Florida with cold.
No.
But they do get frost.
Yeah, they do. There was a frost the week before we got there, and it was quite interesting to see the damage that it had done to some of the tropical plants and stuff. Some of them were pretty dishevelled looking. I
was out there in November, and it was sort of like 22, 23 degrees in November. And all the local people were all wearing long trousers and cardigans, and
it's funny, isn't it?
We were in shorts and T-shirts.
It's funny. I can't imagine my body ever adjusting to the heat that much. But it is funny. I remember we were in Japan a couple of years ago, and I was sweating from my eyes. Even it was that humid. And the Japanese were wearing like jackets and long trousers, just like you say then. It was just crazy. They didn't look like they were sweating at all. But I guess it gets hotter than what it was when we were there. So, yeah.
I mean, if you go out places like, Dubai and places like that, it's nearly 50 degrees. It's
crazy,
just
isn't it?
Silly, isn't it?
Yeah. Being my complexion as well, being a ginge. I incinerate in sunlight. I say that, but I'm actually quite a unique ginge in the fact that I don't really burn that easily. My other half, she burns much quicker than I do, and she's blonde. But I just kind of go cream. It's like an off-white colour.
So that's your version of a tan.
Yeah, my version of a tan is just slightly off-white, and the odd red bit here and there.
My dad, because his mother was Greek, and my dad just has to go out in the sun for about 10 minutes and he starts to go brown. He's like, wow.
Envious.
Unfortunately, I inherited my mum's genes on that side, so I just go red. Florida is
super flat. I love that.
Yeah.
No, not many hills.
No.
I like that. I do love the hills, but when you're walking around so much, nice flat ground is just wonderful.
Yeah, it's not like being in somewhere like Colorado or somewhere like that.
Yeah. Makes a nice landscape. Less nice to climb up them.
And it's forever changing as well. I mean, every time I go to Florida is something different there. But I do like going to Florida. I went there a few years back, and I was out there for the best part of a month. And we went into this restaurant, and they said, "Oh, how long are you staying?" I said, "Oh, 3 weeks." And they said, "What can you find to do in Florida for 3 weeks?"
Yeah, there is a lot to do. I don't think people realise just how set up as a tourist destination parts of Florida are, and like you say, very varied.
Yeah, even if you avoid the theme parks, there's so much to do.
Yeah,
because I mean we did all sorts. I mean, from airboat rides to going out in helicopters and all sorts of stuff.
Did you go in a helicopter? Oh, I don't know. I could do that. It looks fun.
It's fun. It's fun until it starts to bank, and you can see through one window you can see the ground, and the other window you can see the sky. It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
From doing being in a helicopter, you get to see behind the scenes in the theme parks, the bits they don't want you to see.
Oh yeah, of course. I bet that was quite fun to see, actually. Yeah. Yeah. See Mickey with having a cigarette out the back or something.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, because they say that because there's obviously the. There are more than one Mickey Mouse, obviously, when you're in the theme parks.
Yeah.
And they're not allowed to be anywhere near each other at any one time because it just spoils the whole illusion.
Of course, yeah.
Of it all. But there's tunnels underneath the theme parks, and most of the they don't call them staff, do they? They call them
cast members.
That's it. They go underneath all these tunnels to get to wherever they need to get to.
They used to do a VIP tour of the tunnel system, the city underneath Magic Kingdom, and I always wanted to do it, but I think they've stopped it now, and I'm a little bit sad because I'd love to see the tunnels underneath.
That would be amazing. Because, like you say, it is a city in itself under there.
Yeah.
So
I just don't know if it'd spoil the illusion, or if I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted. If it came down to the wire and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it, I think there'd be part of me that's kind of like, do I really want to do this and spoil the magic? But I don't know.
I don't think it would do for me, because it's a bit like watching the extras on a DVD, you know.
yeah, behind the scenes.
Right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, let's delve into what's happening in the skies this month.
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I'm Brian May. In 1961, a 27-year-old Yuri Gagarin became the first man ever to go out into space. He spent 108 minutes circling the Earth, and by doing so extended the hand of man towards the stars. But he looked back to his home planet, and he said, and I quote, "Circling the Earth in my orbital spaceship, I marveled at the beauty of our own planet. People of the world, let us safeguard and enhance this beauty, not destroy it." I say to you, keep this in mind as we reach out and we thrill to the exploration we're able to undertake into the cosmos. let us remember that first we need to learn the lessons that will enable us to take care of our own beautiful planet. Let us guard its beauty. As Yuri Gagarin says, let us guard its biodiversity. And I put it to you, we can do more than that. We can treasure the lives and the dignity of every creature on this planet, because we're all created equal, right? So let's think about it, and let's make a planet that we can be proud of before we colonize the rest of the universe. God bless you. Have a wonderful event.
Hello everyone, this is Steph Evs of the YouTube channel The Stimulus. One of the main reasons I started my channel was in the hopes of inspiring young people to pursue their interest in science, technology, engineering, and math careers, or STEM careers. And events like Yuri's Night are very important in achieving the same goal. In this case, promoting an interest in space exploration. Yuri's Night is a celebration of the achievements of the past that will likely inspire the heroes of the future that will lead us out into the solar system. And that's why Yuri's Night helps rock the planet.
Greetings, fellow Earthlings. This is Richard Garriott, the 483rd person to leave our home planet, and the first second-generation American astronaut. If, like me, you long to explore the cosmos, take heart. While only a few of the over 18,000 NASA applicants will fly with NASA, there are many new avenues opening up for us to use. So the challenge I lay before you is to plan and execute some of these bold new businesses which will lead humanity into being a multi-planet species. See you on Mars, and happy Yuri's Night.
Hello, I'm Chris Lintott. Happy Yuri's Night. Rock the planet.
This is TGP Nominal.
Welcome back to TGP Nominal's Yuri's Night podcast. You might recognise Dan's voice from our Sky Guide that he kindly records for us each month, so it's a bit strange talking to him through the ether. However, Dr. Ross Hockham from UK Astronomy reached out to me recently as he wanted to have some involvement in Yuri's Night podcasts, like he does every year. And he asked whether I wanted to use a guide that he had created for the UK Astronomy events. Now, I thought it would be a cool idea for Dan and I to go over some of the celestial points that Ross has selected and generally talk about what's going on above our heads in April. So, from what Ross has been saying, Jupiter and Venus are the best planets to view this month, which is generally right anyway, because Venus, when she's in the sky, is very bright anyway, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I was actually just the other night looking at Venus through the telescope, and I never really keep up to date on the phase of Venus. So by that, what I mean is that because Venus is an inferior planet, it's closer to the sun. If it crescents just like the moon does. So when you look at Venus, sometimes you can see it as a big bright star in the night sky, but then when you look at it through the eyepiece of a telescope, it's just this little thin slither of light. But it was full facing Earth was the disk of Venus when I looked at it the other night, so it was good to see it like that.
If the moon isn't very bright, she just light up the sky.
Super bright, yeah. I mean, even at 150 million miles. That's what she was at the other night.
Wow. So
on the other side of the sun, of course, because that's how we can see it as a big disk rather than a slither. But yeah, just super bright. Not a nice place to go, though.
No, definitely not. Most of them are not. I always say my home world is Titan.
Oh, yeah?
But that wouldn't be a great place to be either. But
no.
To be on Titan just looking at the rings would be superb.
Yeah. Have you watched the video of the lander that was sent to Titan going through the atmosphere? And the
yes.
So
the Cassini,
cool.
yeah. Oh, wow. It's an amazing planet, Saturn. And when you see it through a telescope for the first time, it just blows your mind.
It does. We get people often say, have you just stuck a little outline of Saturn on the end of the telescope? Is that actually real? And it's like, yeah, it is real. It looks like a little cartoon image, but yeah, that's Saturn there.
And the other thing that blows people's mind is when they see the International Space Station through a telescope, and it brings it home to you then, because you think to yourself, there's actual people living on that.
Yeah, floating around. in free fall.
Well, that's basically what they are doing, isn't it?
Yeah,
So they're not actually flying, they're just free-falling gracefully.
Constant free fall. Constant 17,500 miles an hour. It's an awful thought, really, isn't it? If you think about
Don't they get sunrise? Don't they see that 16 times a day or something like that?
Every 92 minutes they're zipping around the planet. So, I used to joke that they go around the entire planet quicker than it takes me to get home from the observatory. But I've moved a bit closer now. But when I used to live further away, they used to go around the planet quicker than I got home. So
also we mentioned Jupiter there, and that's high in the sky.
It is.
In Gemini.
Beautifully positioned.
So let's go into a few of the highlights that he's pointed out this month. So on the 18th, you should be able to spot a very, very thin crescent moon as the sun sets, and it will be below right of Venus, obviously, because Venus is going to be quite bright as well. It's going to be quite difficult to spot, but apparently with a clear western horizon, should be able to spot it.
Yeah, you should, and I love seeing this. I love this. I love little conjunctions like this where you get two really quite bright objects really close together on the horizon. I think it gives you a context of movement almost in real time when you see these things, because you think, oh, that wasn't there yesterday, and then the next day it's moved again and it's in a completely different patch of sky. And just thinking about the distances between the two as well. It looks flat on the night sky, but there's huge distances between the two of them. So yeah, I really like it when you get a nice conjunction like this. It can sometimes look a little bit like a smiley face as well, depending on where they're both separated from each other. I thought I'll have a look and see exactly where it is that we can see it from, so I can accurately tell you the layout of the two together. In the software that I use, Stellarium, which is a great bit of software. I don't know if you use it or not, but if you don't, it's great. There's actually a tree in the way of it happening, so I can't see it, but let's go back in time. So this is around about 8 o'clock that you're going to get to see this, about 8 o'clock at night. And it is quite low on the horizon. The moon is a very, very slim slither of light, and Jupiter's reasonably close to it, probably about 3 to 4 fingers widths away from it.
On the next night, the moon moves over the top of Venus, just sitting by the bright cluster of stars known as the Pleiades or the Seven Sisters, and there is another name for it, which I think is Latin, but...
in Japan, they call it Subaru.
Subaru, yes, that's right. You mentioned it before. I didn't realise that the logo on the car was representing the stars in the Pleiades, which that amazed me. And then to the left, you've got the Hyades.
The Hyades,
which is another group of stars, a redder group of stars representing the bull's head in Taurus. And the bluer stars in the Pleiades are younger baby stars who represent beautiful forest nymphs. So beautiful that Orion the Hunter chases them across the sky. I love all this mythology stuff that goes along with it.
Yeah, I love the meaning behind the different things in the night sky. They've always got some really elaborate interest story associated with them. And there's so many stories in the night sky. Incredible stories.
Because you've got all the different constellations up there, and people are always coming up with not new names, but what they actually see in the clusters themselves of stars. For example, there's one I like, which is the Owl cluster, which I like to call the Johnny 5 cluster.
Yeah. It's got a few different names. That some people call it the Dragonfly cluster as well, but I don't see a dragonfly. I definitely see Johnny 5 or an owl or a bat.
Yes. It's a constellation that looks like, or supposed to look like a dog.
Canis Major.
And then you've got Canis Minor, which is supposed to be the little dog. But to me, that's just a stick.
Yeah, it's just 2 stars.
The dog is chasing.
Yeah, it's funny, that one. And then Canis Major does look legitimately like a dog if you see the whole thing.
Yeah, it does. You can see the legs and the tail. Yeah, it definitely looks like a dog. But how you get a little dog out of just like 2 stars that just join together in a line is beyond me.
Yeah. Some of them are a bit tenuous, I think,
So if we move on to the 20th, Jupiter, the gas giant, has a shadow transit where the moon Callisto's shadow goes straight across its face.
Yeah.
So this should be from around about 7:15 to about 11:30.
Yeah.
Let's do this proper NASA style, UTC.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's not going to be right because I think this is in BST, British Summertime.
Yeah.
So it's going to be 6:15 to 10:30 UTC. There's confusing anything, but never mind. Just as the shadow slips off the Great West Spot starts to come into view, so you will be able to see it as it goes across. And then Ganymede is hidden behind the planet, reappearing at about 11 p.m. and then goes into eclipse around 12:45 a.m. So if you're into staying out quite late, that should be fun to have a look at.
They're going to need a reasonably nice telescope for this as well. I mean, Jupiter being so high in the sky means that we're looking through less atmosphere, it's going to be less turbulent. You'll get a sharper image when you look at it through a telescope, but you're still going to need quite a nice telescope, a nice eyepiece as well to really see this. I sometimes struggle to see the Great Red Spot through our 16-inch telescope.
Wow.
I have to really spend quite a bit of time just concentrating on it, but with a reasonably sized telescope, then you'll absolutely be able to see that shadow across Jupiter, for sure.
Do you think it'll be possible to see it through a smart scope, or?
Good question, actually. I've never had any success of planetary viewing through a smart telescope, and I don't think I've ever seen any images of planets taken through a smart telescope, because planetary photography and deeper sky imagery it's very two different beasts, really.
Yeah.
And so I don't know is the answer to that. I'm not sure.
I must admit that most of the pictures that I've seen from smart scopes has always been deep sky stuff, nebulas and what have you. So we move on to the 22nd, and there's a minor meteor shower coming, which is the Lyrids, isn't it?
Yeah, I like this one.
It's only supposed to be 15 per hour, but it can change from year to year.
It really can. And the important thing about the Lyrids as well is that it is a one where the meteors that we do get from this particular shower are quite bright. So even though there's a little bit of moon still in the sky, until early hours of the morning, you still got a good chance of seeing the brighter ones coming through, for sure. Yeah, it's the one that I quite enjoy. It's the Lyrids,
The peak is around about 8:30 p.m. Definitely worth going out to have a look, especially if you can find somewhere a little bit darker.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I've seen them in light polluted areas, so it is possible.
Yeah, the ones that we get from this one being particularly bright, even in a light polluted area, it could be okay, but darker skies is preferred.
That's something you don't have a problem with at Kielder, that's for sure.
No, we don't. Definitely dark.
Whilst you're out there looking for meteor showers, why not look at the moon just sitting by the planet Jupiter in the constellation Gemini? So we'll move on to the 23rd. Apparently, as the sun sets and the sky darkens, if you spot Venus and get your binoculars or your telescopes on it, you might be able to see a very faint Uranus next to the goddess of beauty. Obviously, the darker the better, but both are starting to set as the sky gets darker. So basically, it'll be a race against the sunset. It's always difficult to see Uranus anyway. It's always quite faint because of where it is.
But you know, when you look at it through a telescope, I quite enjoy looking at Uranus through a telescope, because when it was discovered, the tale of discovery by the Herschels in Bath, or Bath, depending on where you're from. I enjoy that story of the meticulous stargazing that they did and star mapping that they did to then uncover Uranus. But whenever anybody looked at Uranus for hundreds of years after that, it was just this little turquoise dot. And then we got good at being able to image things that are far away with either ground-based telescopes or then space-based telescopes. And I remember a wonderful image from Hubble of Uranus, which was just this slightly bigger fuzzier turquoise dot. And then when we got a high-resolution image of Uranus, eventually when there was a flyby, and we got this incredible high-resolution image of Uranus, it was just a very high-resolution turquoise blob. So Uranus, doesn't matter how good the resolution is and how close you are to Uranus, it's still just a turquoise blob. So it's a nice planet. I like it. It's interesting.
Because I believe when they first discovered it, they were going to call it something like Georgianus or something like that after George III. But the rest of the world took umbrage to this and didn't really want it. That's why it became Uranus. But George III was very big into his sciences. He had a collection of different scientific devices, which at the time were, state-of-the-art stuff. And he also inspired females to get involved in sciences as well. So you don't often hear about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Caroline Herschel is such an important character in that sphere. She was the first paid woman astronomer, the first paid woman in science, in fact, in the UK. And really, possibly even globally. And I say that with a very tenuous caveat in that court astronomers in China were paid for work, and there was many women who partook in that, but just many of the names of the women were not, the records don't exist. But Caroline was a real pivotal moment in human history for women being accepted into the scientific sphere, and she overcame some incredible things because she wasn't completely abled. She was 4'3". She had a little bit of disfigurement in her spine because she had typhus when she was 10, and then she was also blind in one eye as well. All of these different struggles, and then the fact that she's a woman, and yet she became an incredible figure to inspire women to get into sciences in a very difficult period of time. But her brother was such a big supporter of that, and I just think that's wonderful that you've got this wonderful story attached to astronomy like that.
We make a big thing now about having women in the sciences and in space flight and all that kind of stuff, but to think that there was people back in those days that were endorsing it, the UK were ahead of the game.
Absolutely. And but also we have such a Western view of this as well, I think, because like I kind of briefly alluded to there, from around the 1st century, the Chinese were employing women to do astronomical recordings. So you could kind of tenuously, I mean, they weren't viewing it in the same kind of lens that we were in the 1700s, but they were still actively partaking in what you could loosely consider as scientific research 700 years before we were even doing it in the West. And they were crucial as well.
I mean, you look at rocketry. I mean, the Chinese were doing that centuries before the Russians came up with stuff.
And the carriers of stories as well in much of the world. And I think that's not to be discredited in science, is that the women were often the ones who carried the stories and spread the stories to the young and to groups of people. So they were partaking in science in maybe not the just classical way that we view science from that period of time in the 18th century.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of TGP Nominal and its infinite mission to explore space, science, and technology news, to explore the world of sci-fi, Comic-Cons, and gaming, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
If we move on to the 25th, now Ross loves talking about illusions and things that are on the moon's surface. Now on the 25th, you should be able to spot Plato's hook on the moon. It's best to be seen around about 8:20 p.m. when the light on the moon is just right to create this illusion on the crater. There's lots of these kind of things on the moon, like you've got the X and the V that you can see on there. There's the Lunar Maiden that's on there. There's absolutely loads of them. There's the smiley face, which I think looks like Patrick Moore.
I'm sure he'd love that.
He's got one eye smaller than the other, so it looks like he's got, he used to have the monocle that he used to have, okay? Yeah. It looks a bit like that.
I'm sure he'd love to be immortalised in the moon.
Oh yes, he would. Anything to do with the planets, he would have been so energised by it, because if you mentioned something like that, he would have just lit up. Such an amazing man. From midnight on the 25th, you can watch the moon slowly head towards the star Regulus, with it eventually sitting beneath it around 2:30 a.m. That's definitely one for the night owls. So, grab yourself a flask of something and go out there and see it.
Another nice conjunction.
Yeah, and apparently you can see it through binoculars. I'm a fan of using binoculars if I can, because you get a better image sometimes through binoculars. It does depend on the specifications of them, of course, but the bigger the binoculars, the more chance you're going to need a tripod or something to put them on, because they do get heavy.
Yeah, they do. They do. I always struggle with binoculars. I don't know why. I always feel like I just get better satisfaction with one eye.
Let's move on to the 27th, and once again, we're back to the moon, and this time you might be able to see the jewelled handle, which is another one of these illusions.
On the Jura Mountains. Yeah, I really like this one, actually. If you look at the moon at this point in time, you'll notice that it does kind of have this little feathered bit coming out. It's not got completely smooth edges. Even with the naked eye, you can see it's got this other little illuminated section of it. And it's a wonderful thing to look at with a pair of binoculars or a small telescope. This is probably one of my favourite lunar features, actually, is the jewelled handle. I like it.
To me, I think if it's the one I think it is, it kind of also looks a bit like a praying mantis. It's got that kind of...
Yeah, I can see that.
So still on the 27th, it's kind of on the 27th going into the 28th. Going back to Jupiter again, you've got the moon Ganymede will disappear behind the planet, and Jupiter will be setting before it reappears. So you'll see it and then you won't. It will just disappear.
It's gone forever. Unless you get somebody from, I don't know, get a mate in the United States to just have a look and confirm that it's come back.
I haven't thought of that. It's amazing that you can see these different things, and you can be looking at something in where you are, and somebody in a different country can be looking exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think that.
And one of my favourite things to do with conjunctions is to, if I'm in the States, or somebody else is in the States that I know, I'll take a picture of a conjunction, and then they take a picture, or I take a picture at the same time of night. So when it approaches that time of night, whether it be 5 hours later or whatever, just to see the angle of separation difference in that 5-hour time difference, and it's really cool. Wow. It's like looking at that live motion of the night sky and seeing all these things are constantly moving around. It's I'd like it. There's something I love about that.
Now tell me that time travel doesn't exist.
Maybe it does.
I love that when you're talking to somebody from a different country and they're a few hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
And that, to me, straight away says time travel exists, because you're talking to someone in the future.
Yeah. You are.
So we've been mentioning Jupiter a lot, and we've been mentioning the constellation Gemini. It would be rude not to enjoy its host of clusters and sites. Now, Gemini, obviously you've got the two main stars that make up the heads of the Gemini twins, and that's Castor and Pollux, which I always remember from the film Face Off, if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I have, yeah. Is it in that?
Yeah, the two brothers. Nicolas Cage is Castor, and his brother is Pollux.
I didn't. What a terrible name. What a terribly unfortunate name. Imagine how many times you have to describe that to people. It's Pollux, with a P.
Yeah, it's nothing else. So you'll be able to see lots of little clusters and stars around that area. The most famous one being M35.
Yeah.
The M being the designation that it's been given in
Messier
the
catalogue.
Yeah, which is actually two clusters. You've got a large open cluster of younger blue stars with a tighter, nearly globular looking bunch in NGC 2158, which is made made of older red stars. You can spot these through binoculars with a good steady hand, or get yourself a tripod, and averted vision helps bring out the stars more.
Yeah.
What exactly is averted vision?
So averted vision is when you look at something but slightly off to the side. And the idea or the theory behind it is that you're directing the light through your eye into the slightly more light-sensitive patch of your eye. So if you think about the back of your eye for just a moment, in the middle, you've got some receptors called cones. And then around those, you've got these things called rods. And the cones, they're responsible for colour, your general sight. And then around them, those rods, they have this really interesting pigmentation that changes with a chemical that allows you to see in the dark. They're a slightly more light-sensitive patch of your eye. And this is why if you go out stargazing, it's always good to wait 20 minutes and let your eyes adjust to the dark, because there's a photochromic reaction that takes place in your eye using a chemical called rhodopsin. And that, if you imagine these rods, when you shine light on them, they bleach, so you can't see anything out of them. But then when you stop shining light on them, they change like transition lenses, they start to become more transparent, they start to become more receptive to light again. But they're monochromatic, so you don't see much colour through the rods. And it's something that we've carried through human history. We've evolved in darkly lit environments. So when people say, I can't see in the dark, it's just that you're not giving your eyes enough chance to adapt to the darkened conditions. But you're naturally able to see quite well in the dark, actually, particularly if you stimulate these rods. But because your eye's like a lens, you've got to direct the light in towards those rods, which is better off to the sides. And again, that's a genetic thing, because if we're out at night, we need to be more receptive to the things around us. So we've got these incredible averted visions or peripheral vision to alert us to danger in the dark. So that's what averted vision is. I know that was a really long answer to quite a simple question, but it's quite an interesting topic, is averted vision. So when you're looking at it, don't look directly at it, just look to the side.
This is also the reason why pirates used to have eye patches as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody who's watched a pirate movie thinks that it's because they only had one eye, but it's really so that when they went below decks where there wasn't very much light, they could still see.
Yeah, that's it.
So around the area there, around the Gemini constellation, if you're into your astrophotography, try and find some of the smaller, fainter nebula that are here. There's quite a few to get a grips with. You've got the Eskimo Nebula, the Christmas tree cluster that holds a nebula as well. You've got the jellyfish, the monkey head, and is it Drea's?
Yeah.
Nebula. So there's quite a lot to see around there.
Yeah, I really like the Eskimo Nebula, actually. It's one of my favourite little planetary nebulas.
It's really weird with stars. We always put this little thing in the podcast, a little poem that Neil deGrasse Tyson did.
On canvas with paint in the artist's school, it is red that is hot and blue that is cool. But in science we show, as the heat gets higher, a star will glow red like the coals of a fire. Raise the heat some more, and what is in sight? Behold, the star glows bright white. But the hottest of all, I say unto you, is neither red nor white, when a star has turned blue.
The lighter the colour, the younger the object you're looking at is. So if it's going more into the red scale of things, you're looking at stars that are possibly about to die.
Or very, very small, but you can't see those ones.
It is quite amazing when you think of it that way, that you've got something that's probably about to go supernova.
Yeah.
A good example of that at the moment is Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse, however you want to pronounce it. For all we know, it might have gone already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a nice star, that one as well. But yeah, absolutely. It could have, if it's gone within the last 600 years, then eventually the light will get here in the next 600 years.
That used to blow my mind when you thought about if there was some other being looking at us from another place in the solar system or possibly further afield, what they're looking at is not what we're doing right now. It's a long time ago.
And this is a really difficult conundrum, this actually, because this is kind of assuming that there is a universal time. So when we talk about like right now is not the same in the universe. There isn't like a universal right now. Because, of course, time's moving differently depending on where you are and how fast you're moving and stuff like that. So I really struggle with this concept to try and talk about it. Because if we say that, right now, 65 million light years away, people are receiving the light from our planet as it was when the dinosaurs were being killed. But that's assuming that their right now is the same as our right now.
Yeah, time could be a completely different concept.
Yeah.
It's also the same about life. Obviously, we're carbon-based, but who's to say that other living beings out there, they might be silicon-based or...
Yeah, exactly.
or something.
Yeah.
So, it's very strange to define what you class as life.
It is. It really is.
Spamhead Productions are a small independent sound recording company based in rural Hertfordshire. We specialise in creating content for all your podcasting needs, whether it be field recordings, vox pops, or capturing the atmosphere during social events. Editing is a very time-consuming job, so Spamhead Productions are on hand to take away some of the burden for you. Just advise us on how you'd like your content to sound, and we will do the rest. We can even help you design and manage a website for your podcast too. Visit us now, spamheadproductions.weebly.com. That's spamheadproductions.weebly.com.
So Dan, I'd like to thank you for coming on board for our Yuri's Night special.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about all things space.
Yeah, it's always good to have somebody who's on the same wavelength. Now, before we go, I'd like to thank again Loretta Whitesides, Ross Hockham from UK Astronomy, and of course Steve Dix from Liquid Management for giving us permission to use Public Service Broadcasting's Gagarin for our Yuri's Night theme tune. If you haven't heard Public Service Broadcasting's Race for Space album, go check it out. It's absolutely awesome. So that's the end of our Yuri's Night podcast for 2026, which leaves us to say thanks for listening, stay safe, and as John Berger would say,
rock the planet, Doc.
Well, that about wraps up this episode of TGP Nominal.
If you want to get in touch with us, then
send an email to garbagepod@virginmedia.com, where your input is our output.
Or click the social media icons at the top left of the page over at tgpnominal.weebly.com.
If you would like to subscribe to any of our podcasts, you can do so via Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Don't forget to rate and review us.
And you can listen to me going solo, bringing you the latest in movies and home theater for regular people in the Widescreen podcast over at widescreen.org.
And if you like what we're doing here, then why not buy us a coffee by clicking on the donate button on any of the podcast pages. And don't forget to spread the word about us.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes the event.